we're recording. So my name is Stephanie Moskell, and today we're going to, our D2L lightning session, this is our second session, it's called Something to Talk About, which is kind of ironic. Actually, it's not so much ironic because if you know me, I love to talk. So today we're going to be talking about benefits of online discussion boards for face-to-face and online students. So if you have any questions at any time, feel free to ask. All right, so today I'm going to explain the purpose for utilizing discussion boards in your classes, face-to-face or in your online course. I'm also going to discuss with you how to effectively implement discussion boards. There is a way to do it correctly, and so we're going to talk about how to do that, as well as compare the advantages and challenges of incorporating discussion boards within course learning outcomes. So those are our objectives. This is not a how-to today. I'm not going to go and demonstrate and show you how to create a discussion board. This is for the purpose of having a conversation about more of the pedagogy involved in discussion boards and just digging deeper into that topic. Okay, so let's talk about the purpose. Discussion board activities can serve a variety of purposes and can be used to meet a wide range of instructional objectives. And they should be used to meet specific course objectives that are aligned with your course content. You know, a lot of us don't think of using discussion boards if we meet face-to-face, but we are very fortunate at Roane State to all have course shells for even our face-to-face courses. So you are able to utilize this feature in D2L even if you don't have an online course. We can always make our face-to-face courses web enhanced. So one of the main purposes obviously is to demonstrate knowledge of key concepts. And by using discussion boards, we can discuss these key concepts and allow to take the topics that we have in our face-to-face course beyond. We can go even further into exploration of these topics. So when you have your face-to-face course, you're having these conversations with your students. You're discussing, you're talking about these key concepts. Why not take it even further and allow students to interact in a different kind of environment? And we're going to talk about how they can really get involved and have great interactions with one another, not just you as the instructor. The next main purpose is the importance of community. From the minute your students walk into your class, in a face-to-face class, you start establishing those relationships. You establish those relationships because you want them to connect to the content. You want them to feel comfortable talking to you when they don't understand a concept or if they don't understand feedback that they may receive. So you start establishing those relationships on the first day. So when you utilize discussion boards, you want to create those same connections, and it can be a little bit more difficult, but that's what we're going to talk about today. So creating social presence. Social presence is the sense of being together with others, and it is much easier to create when you're in those face-to-face environments, but you're going to have to make more of a genuine effort to create those in your online courses because they don't just come so easy. So obviously instructor presence is very important too, and you once again establish that when you are with your students, and it's going to be even more important to create that instructor presence and to make sure that they know that you are there because it can feel very lonely out there in the online world sometimes. So making sure those communication doors are open and that you are responding to the students and they are able to reach you is going to be very important. And there's more ways than just communicating and providing feedback that involves instructor presence that we're going to talk a little bit more about. But you're also able to create those real-world experiences. When students get out in the real world, they're going to have to be able to have these conversations with their coworkers. They're going to have to be able to talk to their boss. And this is one more way of allowing for these in-depth conversations. We've already talked about how this can take place in all types of learning environments. So let's talk about dialogue as inquiry. When students engage in discussions with each other rather than with the instructor, the possibilities for collaboration grow significantly. It also encourages expansive questioning. Questions posed in online learning environments need to be the jumping off point of a discussion, promoting deep exploration of topics and the development of critical thinking skills. You know, I think about, we go to class and we teach them the skills and what they need to know, but sometimes we forget to ask them, you know, how did you get to that answer? How, you know, and it's very easy to do. How did you get, well, obviously not, we'll be a little bit more advanced in this, but okay, you know that 2 plus 2 is 4. Well, how do you know that 2 plus 2 is 4? So this is where we can really encourage some expansive questioning. So when you're using discussion boards, there should be no right or wrong answers. This is to serve only as for them to stimulate their thinking, to be able to tackle a larger body of knowledge. And it's going to be very critical for you to model this type of questioning so students know how to ask the questions and how to respond to these discussion boards. So we're able to encourage critical thinking by using those higher order questioning techniques. We're breaking away from those surface skills, and we're really encouraging also reflection and allowing them to be thoughtful and reflective in their own responses. All right, moving on. You know, there's also a point I want to make that students sometimes might not feel so comfortable responding in class or answering a question in class, but they know exactly what to say. They can really contribute to the conversation. This allows those more shy students to be more participants in class and to be able to respond instead of just the ones that are being called on or that are wanting to talk in class. So let's talk about implementation. Organization is going to be very important, and like I said, I'm not going to actually show you how to make a discussion board. Probably you've done this before, and if you would like some help with creating discussion boards or getting your discussion boards organized, then please just email CTAP mailbox, and we'll be more than happy to set up an appointment with you. But your organization and your structure need to be clear, consistent, concise. You know, if you want to have weekly discussion boards, then they need to follow that same structure each week. So you'll most likely set up a forum, and then under that, which your forum would be like your main theme, and then under that you would have your different topics and discussion posts. Checking my time. So organization and structure is going to be very important. Participation guidelines. From the first day of class, you set guidelines for your students. So you're going to do the same thing for your discussion boards. You're going to establish clear participation guidelines that participants discuss and agree to. The first night of class, I can remember when I was getting my degree in instructional technology at UT, I thought it was so cool because my instructor set out a time where we came up with our norms. We decided how we wanted this class to run, how we wanted our online class to run, but then we also talked about what were our expectations for discussion boards. How did we expect for our initial post, how should we respond, and then how should our peers respond. So you want to be very clear how participation should look, how it's going to be assessed, and how it figures into the grading scheme for the class. It's important that we are good role models and that we are always visible on a daily basis. I think it's very important that we provide them feedback to those discussion boards in a very timely manner within about 24 hours. You know that when you submit an assignment or when you are working on a project, you are just waiting, on the edge of your seat to hear feedback and to see how you did. And so our students they feel this way. And so when they put a response out there and they put themselves out there, then they're going to want to, to get a response pretty quickly. Be willing to step in and set limits if the participation is waning or if it's heading in the wrong direction. We all know that between social media and online learning that it can be taken advantage of very easily, and it can go in the wrong direction very quickly. So we want to make sure that we are keeping an eye on it for that reason as well. But we also don't want to be so dominating. We want to be the facilitator. We want the students to basically take the wheel and take control. We need to just sit back and watch. But there is a level of where we need to step in. So we need to encourage them that they have good etiquette as well, and that they are treating others. And it's okay, these discussion boards could get pretty dicey, especially if you're talking about controversial topics, but those guidelines need to be set as well. All right, so I talked about you are more of a facilitator, and modeling is going to be key. Let's talk about assessment. Assessment is obviously very important because this will allow, this is a type of formative assessment, really. You do these discussion posts periodically throughout the semester, and this will give you a better understanding of where your students stand. Are they really grasping the topics? Are they really understanding what we are working on? So assessment, you need to remember, should be matched to the learning outcomes, should be aligned with the instruction, and then once again, those clear guidelines for how they're going to be assessed. I have some rubrics I'm going to share with you in just a minute, but rubrics are very good to use to assess discussion posts. And it's also important to give these to students prior to, so that they can, have an idea of, what is expected of them for each discussion post. So also, remember, you can associate these to grades in your grade book. So this will be, could be a part of your participation grade. Evaluation, when we talk about evaluation, you need to evaluate and see, are these impacting the students' learning? Did their test scores increase or decrease by having them participate in discussion posts? If they decreased, am I going the right way with discussion boards? Do I need to look again and see, maybe the questions I'm posing or the topics, am I asking those deep knowledge questions, or am I just hitting surface skills? Am I getting my students involved? Are they participating? So, evaluation of how the discussion board is being utilized will be very important in the end. And it may be, midway through, how are these discussion boards going? Are they going in the direction that I want? And if they're not, then, realigning your objectives, of course, is always great. All right, so moving on, I have like 6 minutes. Here's some different types of rubrics. This one, you can obviously do your scale different, but I liked this one because it talks about the quality of the initial response, quality of responses to posts of others, understanding knowledge of the materials, and then spelling and grammar. You may not be so worried about that as much as you are the content and their responses. And we're going to talk about a good response and a bad response. I'm sure you've seen them all if you've used discussion boards. Here, this one's a little bit more advanced. Critical thinking, the connections, did they make connections, uniqueness, timeliness, and stylistic, so grammar and all of that. Let's see. Here's just another one. Frequency, did they participate, initial post, same concepts. And I have many of these resources available. If you would like me to email them to you, please just shoot me an email. I have a list of resources that Dr. Sutton has found and that I have found in my research on this. So please just let us know. Okay, advantages. Increased access to instructors. This is just one more way that they can reach you and that they can have access to you. The atmosphere. This creates for a very positive learning environment, and you're expanding your atmosphere and your learning environment by allowing students to participate in discussion boards. Yes, the resources are available to download. I forgot to mention that. If you look under the chat box, there's about 5 different resources that are provided, and you should just be able to click and download them. But if you have problems with that, then I can email them as well. Hopefully, an advantage is more participation. It could also be a possible challenge, but that also depends on how you facilitate the discussion board. Definitely allows for peer collaboration, and it's so important that students have the opportunity to work with their peers and to, it's really great for them to make connections and to talk about their experiences, because maybe someone else has similar experiences that they can reflect on. And so sometimes they learn more from each other, not necessarily them from us, but they can learn quite a lot of information from each other. Self-reflection, we've talked about that, and we've talked about how it can develop thinking and writing skills. So what are some challenges? And this list of advantages and challenges is endless, but I just picked a few. It can be intimidating. A lot of students, when it comes to their writing, may not be very confident in their writing, but this is definitely going to increase their writing skills. The more feedback that they get from one another and from you, the more confident I think they will become. But it can be intimidating at first. I can remember writing my first discussion board ever, and I was so scared, I was so nervous, but I got really good feedback, and then, it just got better from there. Engagement, sometimes engagement can go down, but this is where you as a facilitator will have to step in, and this is where you would want to make those guidelines and make it participation requirements. If you don't make it a requirement, then they're most likely not going to participate, obviously. So sometimes there's a lack of substance, and that's why it's important to model what you are actually wanting from them. 2 minutes. So you want to, in my previous course, I had students where their response was, great, that's really cool, I like to blah, 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 too. Well, and I'm going to show you an example of one. That has no substance at all. Well, why do you like that? What makes you feel that way? Making sure that you redirect those conversations when they start going in the wrong way. And conflict in the discussion. We know there's conflict in our face-to-face discussions, and you know how to handle them there and how to get them back on track, and so you may have to redirect these conversations as well. So you all are the Smart Matter experts, and what you do in your face-to-face courses, they will, to the most part, fall into these online discussions. This is just a discussion, just like me and you are having right now. Well, y'all are just basically me right now, but just like you and your students have when you're in face-to-face situations, it's just transitioning to the online setting. So here's an example really quickly, the good, the bad, the ugly, and they can get so ugly. But here's an example. I agree with you completely. I walked away from the presentation feeling like I really make a difference as a teacher, and that was a good feeling. Well, I'm sitting there thinking, well, why do you make a difference as a teacher? Tell me what you do. Why was that a good feeling? Why did it make you feel that way? So here's a better example. It's not the best, but it's a better example. Dr. Hansen's list of what we know about teaching gave me a strong sense of what it means to be an artist in the classroom. I'm convinced that we in this cohort are people who want to create masterpieces in our classrooms, connecting with students in unique and potent ways. So you can see how they just, took it a little bit beyond, then that makes me feel good. I'm seeing what's going into discussion board. Something about feedback. Let me know if there's a problem. Oh, one more thing I want to show you, and then we'll have a discussion. Well, let me show you this before we discuss. No, wait, I'm missing something. Well, let's talk. Wait a minute, there was something else. I'm missing a slide. Maybe I'm not. Well, let me show you these books really quick. These are some great books. This series right here, the purple and the blue, the first and the third book, it's a series, Josie Bass Guides to Online Teaching and Learning. They are great. They also talk about, it's not just for online, it's these books could be applied to your face-to-face courses. Building online learning communities, this goes much deeper into the social and instructor presence. And then the discussion book, 50 Ways to Get People Talking. And this book is awesome because this can be applied to your face-to-face class and your online course. Okay, so I've done a lot of talking, and I want to talk to you about how do you envision using discussion boards in your class, and what are your fears or concerns, and what are some examples? That's what I was going to tell you about. What are some examples of potential discussion threads? I always remember. And so this last document that you can download is called Example Discussion Posts for Specific Content Areas. And I feel like we have one of our fears or concerns is that those specific content courses like math and science especially, you might feel like, I don't know how I could utilize this in my course. So I went and did some research, and I'm not going to go in detail about these with you because I have the document there, but I know math is very technical, and so talk to your students about what skill or concept was the most difficult for you. This is something you would do in face-to-face, or what has made it hard for you. So I'm not going to go into detail about these, but I did do some research on math and science. I think there's other courses that kind of lend itself, your business courses, your history courses, where it might be easier to come up with those topics and those discussion boards, whereas math and science, not so much. So, please, let's talk. I've been talking. I hope your microphones are working. How do you envision using these? Just click them. Start talking. There's a bunch of you in here, please. Let's do some questions. Or you can put it in the chat box.
Donna had a good question.
I'm looking. What's that? Donna, please suggest a grade percentage for discussion board participation. Everyone does their classes differently. That is a really good question, and I think it's going to be more personal preference. So you could use your discussion board presentation as your... Turn your mic on, please. Thank you, ma'am. So it may be that you want to do your grade percentage as your class participation, or I've seen it done different ways. I do have several rubrics that might help you in determining that, but for me, I guess, I do teach a class, and so the way that we do it, it's just a grade out of all their other grades. So it's really personal preference. You could do it, as your participation. Since if you have especially an online course, they're not, having to come to a face-to-face class. So this could be your way to have participation requirements. So you could do it as participation. Any suggestions, Susan, on that? %of the final grade, that's good. Susan teaches online ethics, so it's about 30%. They have weekly discussions, so I think it's going to be personal preference. That was a really good question, though. Any other questions? Anyone using discussion boards in their class right now? Don't make me talk to myself. Oh, great, Donna. And Valerie, good. Jennifer, we're going to get you using discussion boards. Also a rubric to grade them. Very good. 20% of the grade. They're totally online or hybrid. Okay. Any fears or concerns with utilizing discussion boards? Good. I like that we're using rubrics. I think rubrics are perfect with everything. Give students those bases for what makes it a good grade. Oh, good. I like your enthusiasm, Jennifer. Do instructors require a certain number of posts per week? I would say that, okay, well, and that's when you're setting up your participation guidelines. You know, I wouldn't say you would have more than one discussion a week. So you would have one initial thread. And then for the class that I teach, we have in the requirements that respond to, and this is just a basic introduction. This is the first time that you should make a connection with your students is with an introduction. Even if you have a face-to-face class, you can do this. Have students write a bio or introduction of themselves. And so, you know, you might want to ask some specific questions. You know, what are you learning? What are you pursuing? What do you want to do upon graduation? And so that's one that we do in our course, is we have an introduction to getting to know each other. So the requirement for them is they have their initial post, and then they have, you know, they have requirements for that. And then in order to make, and this is a very basic discussion post, so the requirements are a little bit higher. They have to respond to at least 3 people if they want a C. So if they want an A, then obviously they're going to have to make more than 3 posts. Probably 5 or 6 would be an A. And this is, like I said, just a very basic discussion, getting to know you type post. So when you're getting into more elaborate posts, then you're going to want to have those clear expectations as well. But when I was in, well, I think Dr. Sutton's class, and when I was at ET, we had our initial post, and then we had to respond to 3 other people. And then we had to support evidence. We had to have citations in some classes. So that's the great thing about discussion boards, and you know, being able to utilize D2L. You have the freedom to design it however you want. And you may try something one semester, and then the next semester you say, that didn't really work. You know, that's the evaluation part of it. That didn't really work how I wanted it to, so I'm going to try something different. So if you start to implement these discussion boards, no, just like with anything, it may not go great. You may have to realign it and try something different. But that's what we're here for, to help you with suggestions. But did that answer your question, Donna? They can be hard to keep up with in a class of 40 students. Yes, it can be very hard. And that's why if you set clear guidelines and expectations, that's going to be very important for the overall success. But D2L is set up where you can grade them, and you can see them all together. You can see their initial post, you can see the conversation, and then you can see how they responded to others, because that might be something else that you have to look into if you require this as a grade is, well, did they respond to 3 other people? Yes, Kathy, it does keep them engaged as well as deepening. Thank you. Yes, we would do more than help you design your discussion boards. Great, Donna. Okay, is there anything else you all would like to discuss? It's 30 minutes. That was like the quickest 30 minutes of my life, but I could talk about this all day, so I'm sure you don't want to do that. You're so welcome. It's so good to see you all, or to chat with you all. I really appreciate you all attending, and we will have this recording on our CTAT website if you want to rewatch it, or please share with your other faculty, your team, if you so that they can see this video as well. Thank you all so much. Bye.